The saga continues, and I apologize for background noise. Fans are going. Anyway, I still need to do the bump out and the bay windows, but of course I'm going to hyperfixate on stairs instead because that is ADHD for you. I just hyperfixate on whatever. So yeah, I decided I'm going to do the stairway, mostly because part of my problem is I designed the house on the exterior alone and I didn't really give a lot of thought about the interior and the layout. And so I woke up at like 2 in the morning of the day and I ended up sketching what the floor layout is going to be for the first floor. I have no idea what I'm going to do once I get to the second floor, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But what I do know is that I want a lot of kind of randomly placed little staircases because there's going to be 2 floors on one side and 3 floors on the other. So I really want this Hogwartsy kind of twisty staircases and staircases that just lead to other staircases. I don't know. So I am starting with the first floor, and I had sketched out the location of the stairway for the first floor, and I am now building it to match that sketch as best I can. So I made a drawing of the staircase while I was sitting in my house the other day and just started building. Just randomly, just kind of coming up with it as I went along. So I do end up changing things here and there. Like in this case, I made 2 identical sides to this staircase, and then I realized they couldn't be identical. So here, shear off one side there, and now I can put in the landing right here. And there you go. So I'm dry fitting it first. I have a little glob of glue right there, and I am going to dry fit it and then glue it in place and figure out what other pieces I might need. So yeah, here I am having a conversation with my TikTok live people. I had a TikTok meltdown the other day and I just started crying about something my husband told me and I was very upset about it. And so I had a public meltdown and it was just awesome and productive. So I had a lot of viewers when that happened because people want to see a woman having a meltdown on TikTok while building a tiny staircase. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of entertainment people like. So here I am kind of roughly putting it together and chit-chatting with the participants. And clearly I am pretty passionate about what I'm talking about. I've got my hands clamped together. But yeah. Anyway, back to building. So it took me almost 2 hours to get to the first landing because I was just mostly talking. And of course, people want to see the tours of the house and different dollhouses I have and other builds that I did. So I have to stop and, entertain and show them my messy little she shed too. So yeah, everything seems to fit okay. And the dry fit seems to work. So there you go. It's glued. So now I want to make sure these are 2 inches apart. And I'm just testing it one more time and then testing it in the place where I made my sketch that 2 o'clock in the morning. And yep, that works. Yay. Okay. Stay, Mr. Side of the Stair. It didn't stay, so I decided, okay, I'll make some really rough risers to hold everything in place. Keep in mind, just like with the house, everything looks rough, but everything is just an armature. It is the skeleton. So I am going to cover this stairway with some of my exotic hardwood veneer. I have some beautiful dark brown one that looks like moire silk in the light, and it has a grain that just shifts colors. It's so beautiful. So just making this little skeleton for the veneer to sit on. In the meantime, I put risers up there to hold everything together. I had to take them out a couple afterwards and redo it because they were pretty crooked. But yeah, it was enough to hold things together for now. And there you go. And I think I got that last, for the live, I got that last, oh yeah, this is my sketch. That was kitchen. This is the lobby, or the vestibule, and then this landing right here is going to lead into the Great Hall at the same height as that floor, so I can hide my electronics underneath the floor. So that's my first set of staircases. And those will be nice bay windows with window seats. I'm going to do really elegant little window seats. But in the meantime, yeah, I'm going to pop another piece of wood on top, which I'm going to have to rip off later on because it's so crooked, and redo it. But we don't have to say that. I did anyway, but we don't have to. But yay, zip, my crooked piece of wood. And there you go. But everything seems to be okay. And I think that's where I ended the live that day, pretty much. Yeah. And then I came back in and ripped off that top and put a new one on, even though, look, I'm gluing it on. Impatience. That's just what happens when you do things wrong and then you have to redo them. But what the hell? I'm building this from scratch with a very rudimentary drawing, so cut me some slack. Here's my drawing. I did that measuring between the floors to get the right height. I think the steps are 5/8 of an inch each way, riser and tread. And now I'm transferring the next landing onto the wood. The best way for me to do this is to create the original piece and then use it as a template to create the matching one. And then I can just put them together and sand them and make sure that they match in size and whatnot. I don't know what I was doing here. But yeah, so I'm using my square to connect the 5/8 and 5/8 and make the first step here onto the newest riser. And here I'm notching it in so that it can rest, like notch onto the second landing. Nice and tight there. And then I'm going to do a little curve to kind of lend to the Gothic appearance of this stairway. There you go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop this out with my table saw as much as I can. And try and do it in an intuitive way. Whee! And I'm cutting. And cutting. And here's the notch. Yep. And the step. And then I'm going to cut out the curve as much as I can with the table saw and use my Dremel to get the rest. But in the meantime, we're going to do its twin. We're going to use it to build the twin and use the Dremel to cut out the curve. I was going to switch it out to a smaller blade, but I couldn't find a screwdriver in the hot mess that is my little she shed. So yeah, it took a little bit of patience to be able to cut this. But as you can see, I am using safety precautions by holding the piece with a clamp instead of holding it with my fingers, like within millimeters of the blade. So I'm not completely, reckless. And there's my curve. And I'm going to cut that out too. There you go. And here comes piece number 2, the mirror piece, I guess. Twin. I don't know what I was doing there. Probably cleaning the sawdust off. There's so much sawdust in my little house right now from all this chopping and cutting. And once again, I'm cutting out the notch and then removing excess material. Oh, I didn't. I just used a Dremel. Okay. Here. All right, that should do it. Chop that baby off. And then what I did was I clamped those two pieces together and I used a little drum sander to match the curve. But here you can see they notch right into place, which is very nice. Don't mind the background noise. But yeah, here I am kind of smoothing out the curve with the little drum sander. This is a little $10 tool I got at Harbor Freight. Harbor Freight has a lot of cheap little tools that make miniaturing a lot easier. They even have dentist tools there. So yeah, I'm just smoothing out the rough edges, and then I actually clamped them together and matched the curve. I don't even know if I showed that, but I did do that. And I'm just removing there's little frayed pieces of wood and just kind of cleaning up the edges. I got a whole bag of these little drum sanders in different grits, which is great. And they really are just Super helpful when it comes to cleaning up edges and working with curves. Okay. Alright, so now at first I'm kind of cleaning up edges, and then I realized, look, I'd cut like a huge chunk off of the top landing, so I actually had to rip that off and do it again. So I ripped it off and cut a fresh one. Here, there you go. And fixed it so it is now no longer crooked. So now I'm cutting some 1/32 basswood from Midwest Products and gluing it into the curve of the second landing stairs. So there you go. I couldn't find my masking tape anywhere, so I was using medical tape. So here I am covering this piece of wood as well, and that's working nicely. All right, so I'm taping these new pieces here and this little end piece, bada bing, and now I'm testing it on there, and I'm going to glue it on there, and we'll leave that to dry. And then this is a picture of the next landing that I'm working on. I made the original piece. I am now tracing that piece onto there. Oh, here's a picture of the stairway so far. It's gonna have a lot of character, I think. And here they clamp together so I can match the curve. And that's where I left off. All right, that's it for now.